Okay, this is a video tutorial for the limiting reagent worksheet number 3. So just like we've done before, you're given two masses and you're going to do two mass-to-mass problems. You're given 10 grams of Al2SO3 and 10 grams of NaOH. So those are essentially going to be your givens on these two steps. Okay, so you place them as your givens, and now what you're going to do is make sure that you remember that this is a molar mass step, a ratio step, and a molar mass step again. Okay, from this point on, what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and take this figure, which is your unit and your substance, and bring it across diagonally so that it can cancel. Okay, it'll look like that. Because this is grams, this is going to be the molar mass of Al2SO3, and every time you have a molar mass step, you're going to have 1 mole of the same substance, Al2SO3. The molar mass has already been calculated. It's 294.17 grams, and that figure is going to go right here. Okay, that allows us to cancel this portion right here. Then it's the ratio. And for the ratio, you're going to use the two substances mentioned in the problem. In this case, it is NaOH and Al2SO3. And you're going to make the ratios using the coefficients that are in the formula, such as here. So it's going to be the 1 and the 6. Okay, so now that you have the ratios, and again, that 1 came from the coefficient, and that 6 also came from that coefficient of NaOH. We use those two because those are the two mentioned in the equation. We're going to go ahead and cancel the like units, and you're going to bring this down once again. Because this is a molar mass step, we're going to need to know the molar mass of NaOH. So it'll be 1 mole NaOH, and up on top it'll be grams of NaOH. This is a molar mass for NaOH. It's already been pre-calculated, and it's 40 grams per mole. And that is why we're going to put the 40 grams, because that's a molar mass of NaOH. From this point on, you multiply across. You multiply the 10 by the 1 by the 6 by the 40. You multiply across on the bottom the 294.17 by the 1 and by the 1. You take the top number and divide it by the bottom number that you got as answers, and that's going to be your mass needed. So we calculate 8.16 grams of NaOH. Okay, you're going to do the same thing, but now you're going to solve for grams of Na. You were giving grams of NaOH, and you're going to solve for grams of Al2SO3. So you're pretty much using the steps up here, just rearranging them a little bit differently. So this will be brought down, and it'll be the grams of NaOH, which is the same figure here. It'll look like this, and remember that grams always goes against 1 mole of NaOH. Okay, that allows us to cancel this. Okay, now it's our ratio step. This is essentially the same ratio step we used here, except we're going to flip these around so that this cancels diagonally. So we'll write 6 moles of NaOH here, and 1 mole of Al2SO3 up here. And that allows us to cancel that. Okay, you're going to do a molar mass step here. That is brought diagonally, and then you're going to have the molar mass of Al2SO3 up here. So it's pretty much this step flipped around. Okay, so this is what it looks like now. You multiply all the numbers across just like you did above, all the numbers across on the bottom. You divide the top by the bottom number, and you're going to get the mass needed for Al2SO3. Okay, so it was calculated, and it came out to 12.26 grams of Al2SO3. So we have to figure out what our limiting reagent is. Okay, just figure out what you've calculated. We know that we have 10 grams of Al2SO3 because that's what we were given. And we know that we calculated that we needed 12.26 grams of Al2SO3. So we don't have what we need. So therefore, that's going to be our limiting reagent. And NaOH is going to be our excess. Okay, if you're doing the regular chemistry assignment, you won't have the other problems in the middle. And what you're going to be asked to do is to determine the excess reagent left over in the reaction. Although you will need to have this for the pre-AP, and this is going to be letter D. Okay, so all you have to do for this one is we found out that NaOH is our excess. So we take our 10 grams and subtract from our 8.16 grams, and 1.84 grams is left over. And that's what you do to solve for that one. Okay, this is only for the pre-AP class assignment. So you're having to figure out to determine the moles of ALOH3 produced and determine the grams of Na2SO3 produced. So in this case, this is going to be because you start always with your limiting reagent, it's going to be a mass to mole problem, and in this case it's going to be a mass to mass problem. Okay, we determined that our limiting reagent was Al2SO3. Remember that we also understand that that's how much we start or have, and that's our given, and that's what you start with here. And you're going to do the molar mass across and 1 mole on the top. Okay, it'll look just like this. So that's a molar mass step, and now we're going to go on to a ratio step. Okay, just remember that these are the coefficients that are in the balanced equation. So the ALOH3 has a 2, which is why I put the 2, and the Al2SO3 has a 1, which is why I wrote the 1. So now you multiply the numbers across, multiply the bottom ones across as well, divide the top by the bottom to get your answer. Okay, and it's calculated to 0.068 moles of ALOH3. Okay, for the next one, you're doing exactly the same thing, but you're still using your limiting reagent as your given, and it's also going to be 10 grams, but now you're going to be using this in your ratio step and also your molar mass step. Okay, so we've written that molar mass step. That allows us to cancel. Remember, this is the calculated molar mass from earlier. That cancels that. So now it's the ratios. And remember, this has to match diagonally as well, and we're using the coefficients from the equation. Okay, so this is what we have as our ratio step. Remember, 3 moles of Na2SO3 because that's a coefficient. And remember that this is on the bottom because that cancels. So now we're going to bring this to the bottom, but because this is a molar mass step, remember molar masses are always with 1 mole, and you're going to have 1 mole of Na2SO3. Okay, at this point here, you're going to have the molar mass of Na2SO3. And that's where I'm gonna stop here. I want you to go ahead and calculate the molar mass of Na2SO3. It would go here, and then you multiply across. You multiply these across. You divide the top by the bottom, and that's going to essentially be your grams of Na2SO3 produced. And that is how you do these problems.